Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. That's right, a homeschool. My name is Mrs. T. Today we're going to do a deep dive into our homeschool curriculum picks for kindergarten language arts. I'm going to link in my description my overall curriculum picks video, so a lot of this content is going to match up with what was there, but I'm going to talk about, I've refined it, so I've refined our resources, and I'm going to talk about how we are implementing as well as our goals for language arts. We are a literature loving family, and because of that, I feel like I acquired too many resources and too many wonderful programs. We can't use it all. So we have Bookshark Level A, they're reading with history. We had Build Your Library Level 0 and Blossom and Root Level 0 to choose from. And at the end of the day, there were things I really liked from all of these components and all of these programs, but I don't want to use all of them. That is way too much. So I set up goals. What are the goals for this upcoming school year? We want to have my child work on phonics, first and foremost, handwriting, and reading comprehension. And from a reading comprehension point of view, I wanted us to have one novel study going at a time. So we are working on tracking a continuous story, so novel study, but again, only one at a time. I don't want a bunch of novels going at the same time. And then I also wanted to have like a daily picture book study or short story study where we read and we have discussion questions on a specific picture book or short story. And then on top of that, just exposure, reading a lot, reading often, exposure to some poetry, and exposure to books. And those books don't have to necessarily come with any sort of like discussion questions or anything crazy, but I just wanted some ideas for literature as well, themes, etc. Okay, we're gonna start with handwriting because that's the easiest. So we went with Getty DeBay. This is their Italics Handwriting Series, Book A, which is meant for the kindergarten level, and we will be working on that in our kindergarten year. Now, my child has the personality trait where he knows what the finish line is and what the ultimate goal is for handwriting, but he likes to try to rush to get there. He does not like doing this like slow writing. It drives him absolutely bonkers. So that means like his refinement definitely needs some practice. So before we hop into Getty DeBay, we are going to be doing this book here from the Writing for Learning series, the handwriting. This is their manuscript letters workbook, and they basically deconstruct every single letter. So I wanted us to go through this slow deconstruction to kind of force him to slow down and be more mindful with his letter formation. So I thought we'd get to this in the summer, and we just did not. So we will be starting this in the beginning of the year, and then we'll transition into Getty DeBay. Now for phonics, our phonics program that we did end up selecting and going with is different than our original pick. So I will link in the description my video in which I explain why we changed it and kind of our mentality here. But we are using All About Reading Level 1. We're only on Lesson 10, so we will be continuing this in our kindergarten year. The other phonics supporting piece of curriculum is going to be Explode the Code. We have finished the primer series, so we are going to shift into Book 1, which primarily focuses on short vowels. And this is a writing phonics program. So it has some writing, pencil control, reading, and all that fun stuff. And this is really fun. We will be adding this as well. Now this next resource that I have is not one that I flagged in my original video, but I'm really excited about it. It is from Scholastic, and it is a daily word ladder book. This is meant for grades K to 1. Now how we are going to use this is, first of all, this is what it kind of looks like. So the concept here is you start with a word on the bottom, and your child is going to get a clue and have to change a letter on the next rung. Then they'll get another clue on the upper rung, and they will have to change a letter, so on and so forth. And you can see how that word is going to transform. We're going to do it in not a whole ladder in a day, but instead on our whiteboard, we will have the word. I will give my child the clue. He will erase whatever needs to change, and he will write the letter to finish the word for the day. And I think that just one word, one clue a day will be ample, and it will be a really fun, small little thing that we're doing that kind of gets him thinking outside the box. And I'm really excited about that. Okay, let's talk about reading comprehension, and we're gonna start with our novel side of things. So total, I selected 12 novels that we are going to be reading throughout the upcoming school year. And the guides that we're going to use for these novels are going to come from the 3 resources that I had picked up, which is Bookshark, Build Your Library, and Blossom and Root. So I'm going to share with you guys the novels that we have and then tell you which guide they're going to come from. So we're going to start with Anna Hibiscus using Bookshark as the guide. The Very, Very Far North, and we'll use Build Your Library. My Father's Dragon, which is called out in both Bookshark and Blossom and Root, but we will primarily be using Blossom and Root because it takes a little bit more time and is a little bit more gentle. The Children of Noisy Village, Build Your Library. The Boxcar Children, Bookshark. The Year of the Dog, Build Your Library. The House at Pooh Corner, Bookshark. Heartwood Hotel, this is actually called out in both Bookshark and Blossom and Root, but we will actually use the Bookshark guide for this one. Audrey of the Outback, Build Your Library. Mr. Popper's Penguins, which we're going to get from the library, is from Build Your Library. The Story of Dr. Dolittle, which is from Bookshark. And the last one is The Bears on Hemlock Mountain, which we're actually going to do on YouTube. They have a read aloud of that. We're just going to do the read aloud from YouTube. And those are going to be the books. This means that we will be finishing all of the novels that are called out in Blossom and Root and Build Your Library, and less than half of the Bookshark A novels, which, sneak peek preview, if this goes well, the rest of them will be in our next year. So just exciting. So they're not going to waste. We're just not going to do them quite yet. Okay, next component here is we'll talk about poetry and rhyme exposure. I decided that we were going to be using Bookshark Level A's guide because they do a daily poetry or Mother Goose, and they flip-flop, and it's very, very gentle and basic. So we are going to be reading through that program The Llama Who Had No Pajama and the Arnold Lobel book of Mother Goose. So every day we would do one or the other, not both. And we're going to keep it light and simple, nothing too crazy. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about reading comprehension tied to a picture book. So each day I want us to look at a picture book, sit down, really kind of dive into it, read the story, and then ask a couple of questions. I don't want the picture book study to take very long, like no more than 10 minutes, but I want us to start having those enriching conversations. So there are a couple of resources we are going to use. For 3 days of the week, we are going to be using Jacob's Ladder. This is a reading comprehension program for grades K through 1, and we will be using a total of 13 books from this throughout the year. Now, the way that this program is set up is it is a ladder of comprehension. So we would read the book, for example, on, let's say, Monday, and then on Monday we'd do that first rung question, and we leave it. We would revisit the book the following day, get up a rung, revisit it the following day, up a rung, and then the next week we'd repeat on the next ladder. Some of these books have like 3 ladders and some only have 1. So the duration of time that we spend on each of these books is going to vary based on the questions in this program. But we will not be finishing this program. We are only going to go through 13 books from here using this as a guide. The next resource we are going to be using is from Exploring the World Through Story. This is their level A. So this one recommends 2 books and we flip-flop each week. We are going to be doing Pourquoi stories through How and Why stories. And then we will be talking about fables through Aesop's Fables for children. So this program is meant to be a supplemental program to a typical language arts program. And they only recommend like 20 minutes to finish a whole week's worth. So we should be able to finish this program in the duration of the year. So it is a 36-week program, just doing it once a week. And then the last resources that we are using for that last day of picture books is going to be a month of one resource, then a month of another, and we're going to flip-flop back and forth. So the first one here is Layers of Learning by Joellen McCarthy. We are going to be exploring 20 books through this program. So again, we're not using the whole program, and we are going to be focusing on discussion questions and really having some of those deeper conversations on themes that you find in picture books that might be a little bit tougher. So this talks about how each picture book specifically has a theme that's tied to community, agency, respect, and empowerment. So those are kind of we're going to be kind of focusing on the, we'll say like almost the social and the feeling side that comes in a lot of these books. So we'll be kind of focusing on that aspect rather than like the technical, like what happened next sort of reading comprehension. And then once we do a month of that, we will hop over to this resource here. This is The Adventures of Molly and Keela, and this is a virtues book for children that is secular. And the way that this works is you get a short story, and following the short story will be 4 virtues and positive character traits that are then discussed kind of in detail. So we will do a single virtue. We'll read the story on, let's say, Friday. We'll read the story, we'll go over a single virtue, and then we'll reread the story the following week, and we'll go over the second one, so on and so forth. So for the duration of a month, we will read 1 story from here, but we're going to talk about 4 different virtues, how that is in the story, and then applying it to real life. And that is basically our main reading comprehension side. Now, I did mention that we're also interested in just general exposure, so I will just kind of note that we are also going to be reading a lot of books through our other curriculum choices for things like science. For example, we'll have a few through math, social studies, but the other thing that we have that we will really use is Blossom and Root. Blossom and Root has a number of books that I actually am really excited about. We have a lot of access to those at our library. We already own a few, so we will be using those as purposeful books to pull out, but we're not going to do all of the enrichment activities. Rather, we are going to use these books as just a general exposure, and then if something resonates with my child, or if I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper, we'll then implement the enrichment activities that are recommended each week. And then the other thing that Blossom and Root does do is they do copy work, dictation, and journaling. And we will add, and that's just a small single sheet for each of those, that we will just add that in throughout the week as well. And that will be our language arts. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.